I'm going to go find somebody to run over my welding cables and show just how stout they are. Our Rockmount Welding cables will hold up to a lot of abuse, and they can even be run over by a truck or a lift truck, or they'll hold up to a lot. And so I'm going to go find somebody that will run over my cables that I've set out here and show you just how well they'll hold up to that kind of abuse, if I can find somebody with a lift truck to demonstrate that for me. So I'll go find somebody now. Well, I wasn't able to find anybody that operated a lift truck to run over my cables for me, so you'll just have to take my word for it. But these really are stout and really do hold up to a lot of abuse.
Another thing I wanted to mention about the Rockmount welding cables is that you can buy welding cables online or at the local weld supply place. And those cables do resist dirt and grease and oil and water, but not as well as the Rockmount cables, because ours are treated so that they resist more contaminants. Those contaminants can make your cables brittle over a period of time, and then they'll crack, which makes them less safe. So the Rockmount cables are a safer cable to use because of that. There is one other thing about the Rockmount cables, besides the fact that they hold up to stresses, being run over by a lift truck, for instance, and the resistance to contaminants. And that is that if you get the generic cables, they're rated. Their number 2 cable, for instance, is rated at 200 amps over 100 feet. Our number 2 cable is rated at 200 amps at 150 feet. So 1.5 as far. Our number 1 cable is the same, 250 amps at 150 feet, whereas the generic one is 250 amps at 100 feet. That comes into play in places like the road and bridge guys, where they're welding on a bridge. And they've extended their cables out beyond the 100-foot mark. Well, creates they're spitting and sputtering, and it creates a less consistent power source, which gives them a weaker weld. But what's the difference anyway? I mean, what are the chances that you'll be the one on the bridge when it collapses? Another thing about using generic weld cables is that you don't have to worry about the bridge collapsing, because the bridge inspector will probably shut the thing down before it drops into the river. So all you have to do is drive another 65 miles down the river to the next bridge, cross the bridge, and drive 65 miles back to get right over there where you're going to go across the river. So problem solved. And if you don't mind putting that much more wear and tear on your vehicle, paying for the fuel, and wasting 2.5 hours, but it wasn't really wasted time, because you can drive along and spend a couple hours thinking about how much money you saved by spending $2 a foot less on your weld cables. So you win. So the way I look at it, you can either waste a bunch of time driving to the next bridge and back, the wear and tear on your car and the cost of the fuel, or option 2, you can die in a bridge collapse, or option 3, you can use Rockmount welding cables, which resist contaminants better, hold up to the stresses, like for instance having them run over by a lift truck, and provide yourself with a more dependable, consistent power source that our weld cables provide. Now, I would buy Rockmount weld cables, but that's just me. I'm not the boss of you.